What's happening, everybody? Thank you for being here at All Access Live with Kevin Rankin. I'm really psyched about today's guest because I've got fans of this guy from all the way across the world that have already joined the chat. So if you just got here and you're visiting from any place other than YouTube, I want you to do me a favor. Go to the link below, go to youtube.com/@accesskevin, subscribe to the channel, and if you've already subscribed, like this video, make sure that you share it with people, and there's also an opportunity, if you'd like to become a member. So you can become a member of this channel by going to youtube.com/@accesskevin. If you're a member, you get access to exclusive interviews that I've done. People like Midyear from Ultravox, Kelly Keegi from Night Ranger, Cy Kernan from The Fix. You're also going to be thrown into drawings that I have giveaways for upcoming A Flock of Seagulls shows this summer. I've got some swag packs that I'll send out to some members. And so I'd love it if you became a member. It's super affordable and it's a great support for this channel. Also supporting this channel is the amazing 5-Star Guitars based in Beaverton, Oregon. If you're interested in playing guitar or you want to get repairs, you want lessons, go to 5starguitars.com/allaccesslive. Everything that you see there has special discounts for viewers of the show. Plus, when you check out using the promo code of All Access 15, you're going to save 15% off of everything you see. And since they're in Oregon, there's no sales tax. So you save a ton of dough and you get an opportunity to support this channel just like they supported me. Now, my next guest was someone that I discovered the music industry in Portland, Oregon, but he's known worldwide for his DJ prowess, skills, and his magnetism. So he's now in California, rocking the world all the way from his beautiful abode in, I guess, Southern Cal. Is DJ Tony Stewart. What's happening, dude?
What's up, brother? How you doing? Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Trish DeWitt's in the chat saying, "Let's go!" So, yeah, man. Like, your pal Mike May was another fan of yours. I know Mike was DJ Ray Spanner here, radio DJ in Portland. And
yes.
He just popped in really quick, and I said, "Dude, I gotta go and stop chatting because DJ Tony Stewart's coming on the show." So he sends his best.
I hope he jumps in the chat, man. That'd be awesome.
Me too. Right now, he's using my shower, so I added him for that. Poor dude had a plumbing issue, so he's. But
we've all had those before, so.
God, that's the worst, man. And I'm not handy enough to fix my own problems, So you just at the whims of those plumbers. But
absolutely.
One thing I really love is people that have interesting backdrops, man. And I've noticed that you've got this killer poster, but behind you, you've got all these figurines. Tell me about these little figures. What's your collection back there?
Where do I start with that? I have to give credit to my other half. That's her creation. We have a lot of cool stuff back here. So, we've got like the Bob Big Boy. We've got what else we got back here? We've got a Bee Gees lunch pail.
Oh, no way. Look at that. Yeah.
That's like an OG. We've got a Caleb. What's his last name, babe? She's not listening to me.
That's all right.
Caleb, the guy who's the quarterback for the USC. We got him back there.
Oh, Caleb Williams.
Yeah, there you go. Caleb Williams.
Nice. All right.
I'm not good with college players. I mean,
are you an NFL guy?
I'm an NFL guy, but like
what's your team?
Players, my team is the Patriots.
Okay, so either you're a bandwagon fan or
well, I grew up loving the 49ers because I'm California, right? So I always got love for the 49ers, but I was always
Caleb Rankin.
I was a big fan of Bill Parcells. I just liked him as a coach, and he went to the Patriots. And it was just amazing, like watching what happened. And I hated the Rams with a passion. And in that Super Bowl when they beat the Rams, I was rooting for them. And ever since then, I've been rooting for them. So they're ass right now, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Hawks fan, Seahawks, and they actually, we made the biggest blunder of the entire NFL history by throwing on second and first, and it should have been our second Super Bowl win, but no, the Patriots got it. So kudos to them. Yeah, Debbie. Yeah, good to see you here, Debbie. Yeah, welcome Caleb Williams. So the Bears signed your quarterback there from USC, and
yes.
they hopefully they'll have something to show for it. But
hey, I was just at we were just at a USC. It's called the Ring of Honor. They have a banquet, and we were there on Monday night, and so Marnie Lott was there.
what?
Rodney Pete was like, all the alumni were there. Wow. It's just like their way of honoring alumni and, supporting the NIL. And so it was cool to see. You don't realize how many athletes. I mean, people forget USC is a powerhouse when it comes to athletes. And but I didn't know, the amount of Olympic medalists that come out of USC, it's a big deal. And so it was really cool to go and be part of that. We did that on Monday night. It was super fun. And so, Mark Sanchez was there.
Wow. Probably didn't have Pete Carroll there.
Nah, he wasn't there.
It's an unfortunate thing, man, because they won championships with him, but
OJ wasn't there either.
Oh God, man. Well, yeah, like
he's just not here no more. So
they
didn't bring him up either. So
man, he's been popping up in my feed a bunch, and I don't necessarily. I'm surprised by the amount of controversy, about the people that don't, they believe, if the glove don't fit,
it is what it is.
Glove,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we won't talk about killing wives and girlfriends, and we'll just talk about
that's a bad thing.
So what brought you to the USC event? Are you an alumni? Or?
No. My other half's brother is, and so he's highly involved in the with USC. So it was an event that they were a part of. He actually helped with the event. He has been part of the event for a long time. So it was. He invited us. They've done it a bunch of times, but this time they invited us. So we were like, yeah, we'll go. So we rolled out, and it was fun. It was very enlightening. Is my camera glitching? Something's glitching.
I see a little bit of a shutter. I think that there might be ghosts. Who knows?
I don't know. That's weird. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Did you go black tie formal kind of thing?
It was business casual. So I had on, right. I looked good. I had like a cool collared shirt on and some cool pants and nice shoes. I don't even know. This football player came up to me. He was on the Giants. He was an alumni. He played a long time ago. He was a Giant. So I don't remember who he was, but he was like, yo man, your shoes are dope, bro. And then I didn't even know, and he was talking to me. I didn't even really know he was. And then when they were announcing all the alumni, he stood up. I'm like, oh, that's the dude that like my shoes. So
that's good, man. It's funny. Did you have like some good tenny kicks?
They're super cool. I'm a big fan of this clothing line called Ted Baker. They're out of London, and they make really nice, really cool, businessy but sporty kind of clothing. And so they have these really cool. They almost look like wingtips, but they're tennis shoes.
Oh, right on.
They're clean.
They weren't like LeBron.
Nah. I mean, I almost wore some Jordans, but I was like, nah. Yeah. Let me just keep it. Let me keep it nice. I don't know what to expect. But when I got there and I saw what people were wearing, I was like, oh, I could have wore that. They wouldn't have said nothing.
Yeah. No, obviously you wore the right thing because you got the props from the
former
players. I like the old school roller skate you've got on your top shelf too. That's pretty tasty.
We just got that. So we were at the Cerritos. No, not Whittier. We're in Whittier, and they have like an antique store there. A friend of ours wanted us to go, and so we hung out with them in Whittier, which I've never hung out in Whittier ever. Always drive past it, or you're on the 5 and you pass the exits to get there. And we saw those derby skates in there, and Trish is like, yo, I go, I remember having those. I had those
That's
skates.
Awesome.
So we just it's just fun. I go live on TikTok all the time. And so, I'm typically set up right here where you see me at right now. And so it's just great. People get to see, other than hearing the music I'm playing, they get an opportunity to kind of see things in the back. And just like you did, you notice like, wait, what's back there? And she changes stuff out all the time. So like there's stuff changing,
Little Easter
interchanging
eggs.
constantly. Exactly.
That's
It's
good,
a whole
man.
Easter egg vibe. You know what I mean?
I love it, man. That well, speaking of the TikToks, right? So we got your TikTok address there, tiktok.com/DJ Tony Stewart.
Yes.
Last weekend on the 21st, a week and a half ago, you paid tribute to my favorite all-time artist, the artist himself there. You did a Prince dedication for 6 hours on TikTok.
Yes, I did. I'm actually doing another one on June 7th.
Are you? Okay. So yeah, like tell me about the setup and preparation for something like that.
Well, it kind of was impromptu. We were in the backyard, and when I DJ, typically when I play in a nightclub, you got to play what the crowd wants to hear, right? You're playing top 40, whatever. And so with my TikTok, I can do whatever I want, and I can be completely expressive in the music that I really care about and that I love the most. And so my favorite band is Depeche Mode. So I've done a lot of heavy Depeche Mode sets. And Trish was like, one day, she's like, hey, she goes, I was like, I don't know what to play today. And she's like, well, you haven't done a Prince night. And I was like, oh, you're right. I love Prince.
I mean, Trish even more already.
Oh, she's awesome. And so so we did I did it that one day, and the reaction was very strong. And it was like the 10th of April I did it. And I realized, I was like, oh wait, he passed in April. And we looked and like, oh, it's the 21st. And I said, okay, we're going to do. So I announced that night, hey, we're doing a tribute to Prince on the 21st. And and Trish is my set designer. Like, I do all the music. Trish does all of the set design. I get no credit for that. That's all her. All this stuff you see back here, that's all her vision. Yeah. And so she went out. Oh, I mean, she went crazy. She got the candles. She set it up. It was beautiful. And it went over well, man. I went in deep. I played, I'm a big fan of, everyone likes to hear the hits by artists. I like to hear the non-hits. I want to hear the songs that artists, I feel like the hit records are made like, okay, we're going to make a song for the radio. When you hear the album cuts on, most of my favorite songs that are on albums are never the ones that were on the radio. They're always the ones, I feel like those, the blood and the ones they love the most are the filler tracks, right? That's when they're the most experimental. They're taking chances. They're stretching, things artistically, because they're not trying to fit in the radio format, right?
Right.
You're lucky if you're an artist and a song that you were like really trying to be creative with, and it like hits, the public takes it and it becomes a hit song. That's cool. But as artists, they make songs directly for the radio, especially now. They're like, it's just going to get played on the radio. That doesn't sound like a radio song. Like, let's play it. You know what I mean? So I like to dive deep in people's catalogs. So when I did my Prince night, I was really just playing. I mean, people were like, I never heard that song before. And I'm like, what? You know what I mean? Because people are very surface music listeners. I'm not everybody.
The mass public, the
mass public, they're surface music listeners. They don't, whatever the radio feeds to them is what they know, especially nowadays. Like when we were growing up, it was, you got an album, you opened it up, you put the needle down on the record, and you listen to the whole thing all the way through. Flip the record over, listen to the whole record all the way through.
Yeah.
And if you didn't like a song or so, you might skip over it, but you just like, oh, I got to get up and like move the needle. You just let it go through. Right.
Yeah.
So it was a whole experience. You had the album cover, you had the album art, you had the lyrics, you had all of those things to make you get all the way into the experience of the album, which we're missing that today. You're not getting that anymore. That's like, I mean, you are in a sense where records are coming back into play, and artists are making records again, and you're seeing that. But there was a good chunk of like 10, 12, 13 years where there was none of that. You would get a digital book on iTunes, but like how were you going to look at it? Scroll through that on your iPad or iPod.
Right.
You're not doing that. You know what I mean? So, and with the advent of like, oh, I can buy, oh, let me listen to that song. I don't like that song. So you're not even buying the whole album. You're buying single. But I mean, you look at iTunes now, it tells you the popular songs on the album.
Right.
You know, you can see, oh, this one's popular. Oh, that one's barely got a bar on it. Oh, I'm not going to buy that song. Right. So they're just going to buy the immediate songs that are popular, where you had to buy the whole album back in the day. So me being a 55 almost year old man, I have that experience of, you know, knowing exactly, knowing so much music, because how, you know, the cassette tapes, when you fast forward it past through the song, you just, I'm not listening to this song. You know what I mean? Like,
you know, you appreciated that so much more, man. I mean, I think you're a lot like me, that music was so all consuming that you'd obsess about some of that stuff, right? I mean, like for me, I'd binge music all the time. You know, you'd not only just play one side of the record and get through and flip the record, but you've got a night's worth of listening, right? I mean, you're not just, you know, sitting down for 45 minutes and listening to an album, but you're listening to several hours, 5, 6, 7 hours of music sometimes, right? So
well, I mean, and that's, I mean, when I go on my TikTok, I play for an average of 5 hours straight.
Yeah.
Like just like, and that has a lot to do with just the way my DJ career of, you know, like how DJing was back when I started to compared to how DJing is now. So the DJs now, they play an hour.
Yeah.
Right. They show up at a festival or a concert or whatever show they're doing, and they play an hour, then another DJ plays an hour, then another DJ plays. So they'll have, you know, you go to like Coachella, there's 50 DJs on the bill, right?
Right.
Everyone's playing an hour. Maybe the headliner might get an hour and a half. Well, when I was coming up, especially when I started, you know, I used to work at a teen nightclub back in the 80s, where I really got a lot of my chops, called Zap, in Anaheim. Okay. And we started that at like 7:30 at night, and I played until 1:30.
Yeah, man.
It was just me.
That really.
And
you were 2 turntables and a microphone at that point, I'm sure, right?
Literally. So, no, two turntables and a Yamaha console I was mixing on. I wasn't even mixing on a DJ mixer, which I used to complain to the owner. I'm like, dude, can you get me a DJ mixer? Like, no, it's not stereo. Oh, like, it's not stereo. This is stereo. So I had to pull each channel 1 and 2. I had to pull both faders up to get it going. So finally, he found those clips that went in the clips that you can put in between the faders, where you can pull them up evenly at the same time. I'm like, you got to do something, man. You got to do something to allow me to like get this. Like I'm trying to mix, and like one fader's lower than the others, and so he did. But yeah, I wasn't even mixing on a DJ mixer. It was funny. Like DJs would look at me like, dude, you mixing on a mixer? I'm like, yeah. That's how this dude wants to do it. So,
but that's great though, man. That's good to, you know, if you develop some chops with that kind of system, then you can kill on a legit system.
Now, sure. And it's funny even bringing that up right now, because I kind of forgot about that. You know, it's like, but yeah, I used to bitch and moan at this guy, dude, could you just get me a DJ mixer? And he's like, no.
Yeah.
He's like,
you will learn.
Well, and the thing is, we had a TV show back then called Zap, the television show. Not only did we have the dance club, but we also he had aspirations of being like a TV producer. So he had me and my friend Keith, who we were to two, like, you know, 17-year-old, 18-year-old kids who were like the popular per se kids that would go around and promote for the club for him. So he basically like, tell these people that you own the club. That was his whole thing. That like the people ask, it's your club. We're like, okay.
Nice. And you were like just mid 80s, or it was the late 80s.
This is like 87, okay. 88.
Yeah.
And all right, so I started DJing in 85, and so just playing with one of my friends in his garage, just like whatever, because me and a bunch of us used to dance at Knott's Berry Farm. They had a club there called so they had a club called Studio K and Cloud 9, and most of the kids in Southern California that were, I would say, or we all say, were like the misfits, or they weren't the jocks or the cheerleaders or whatever. We were into music. We would go and hang out there on the weekends, where all the other kids would be at house parties with their friends, and I didn't go to schoolhouse parties really. I was just like, that wasn't my thing. So
Yeah.
I was into like dancing and like being around music. So I figured out Knott's Berry Farm, and I was like, oh, this is dope. And that's kind of like, then I was already kind of DJing, but then I'd go to these clubs and hear these DJs mixing these songs together, and I'm like, dude, I gotta be doing that. That's like just listening to what they were doing. And on top of that, dancing and battling other dance crews, and we had dance crews. It was a big deal.
Really? Yeah. So you were having like these battles, man. You're
like, dude, you have like listen,
this is like the Beat It video, like you the gangster.
Dude, literally, dude.
Oh yeah.
We had awesome. So my crew was called Prime Time, right? We were the Prime Time.
Of course it was.
And so there was another group called Class A, and we had another group called Jam on It, and there was a few other ones. And we would come to the club, and we would like, we were all dressed up, got our clothes on, and like, we had our songs. If the DJ played that song, okay, we're gonna take on this crew right now to this song. And so like one of our songs was Young Guns by Wham. That was like when that came on, we could just look at the DJ. He knew. We'd be like, play Young Guns right now. Play it right now. Like, we want to battle these guys right now. And he would,
hold on. So, all right. So how many guys you had in your crew?
There was like, so it was me, Alex, Mark, Linda Rodriguez, who's like, she was a fabulous dancer. Those were the strongs. We had Tim Binding. Right. We had like
5 or 6.
There was like 10 of us or so, right?
Okay. But the other team, I mean, like, could you outstack these guys? Like, what if you had 10 and the other team only had 5?
We had a secret weapon. We had Linda Rodriguez. So we had her, and she was just ridiculous. She was just a great dancer. I mean, she went on dance
and break dance and all that.
Dude, she could do spins and splits and like, I mean, she was actually on American Bandstand in a dance contest. Like, she's like, she's legit. Like, she's toured. She worked at Disneyland. She went from there to Disneyland, and I was a big time dancer, but I was always a DJ too. So like, once I got to a point, I was like, I'm a DJ. I started fading out of the dancing. I was like, I still dance, but the DJing was just taking too much a hold. It was like, this is too much fun. Like, saving my knees and shit. Get older.
Please tell me, dude, somewhere you've got to have VHS tapes of your dance battles. Please. If I would have prepped this with some video.
I wish there's a video that I've been trying to find. A buddy of mine who's passed, he found it. I was on, Nia Peebles had a show called Party Machine.
Oh yeah, man.
And I was on that, and he found it, a clip of me, and he sent it to me. And he was like, yo, I found a clip when we were there. And I was like I'm like so far removed. I'm like 45 years old. Like, and I see this, and I'm looking at my like 21-year-old self, like on the dance floor, doing spins into pirouettes into splits. And I'm like,
really?
I can't do that now. I can't do that now.
At least you recognize that. Some of us, still try to do that stuff. And
this is when I was at Guitar Center. So I showed some of my coworkers. I'm like, yo, want to see me dance? They're like, yeah. And I showed it to me. They're like, that ain't you. I'm like, dude, that's me. They're like, no way, that's not you. And I'm like, no, that's me, dude. But yeah, there's.
Do you have like big Kid and Play Fro too? Please tell me yes.
I didn't do the Kid and Play Fro, to be honest with you.
All right.
I was more of a like fried, dyed, and laid to the side guy. So
nice.
I was like, bleaching my hair and straightening it and doing all the like new romantic shit. That was my vibe. So I didn't really do I didn't do the Kid and Play thing. That wasn't quite my thing.
That was you mentioned too, and I don't want to leave the dance battle thing just yet, but you talked about being a huge Depeche Mode fan,
right?
Even when we were just playing this last weekend too, we a lot of times with the Flock of Seagulls, we've had this Depeche Mode tribute that's opened a lot of our shows called Strange Love. Have you caught these guys at all?
I haven't. So I'm gonna be honest. I'm very.
You can be totally honest. You're critical of the tribute thing. No, I get it.
Like I'm such a like diehard dead core Depeche Mode fan that
Yep.
I just can't see somebody else doing their music. If they're gone and they're like no longer, so like a lot of people like want to do these shows and they're like they were touring just last year, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna go see them tour and then I'm gonna go see a tribute band. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. And
I totally get it.
I've seen some of them though. I've seen them. They're good. They're good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, I know. I've heard Strange Love is the best.
Yeah.
There is the Frankie Morales or Frankie. I follow him on social media. He does devotional.
Okay.
And he's pretty good as well from what I'm hearing. I've seen clips. They're good. I'm just like,
I was curious.
I'd rather see Depeche Mode.
Totally. Yeah. When we play, it's interesting thing because our singer too has a little bit of a challenge, with the tribute opening for our band, as a Flock of Seagulls. To me, music is music, man. Whatever moves people and touches people is important. And I know a lot of friends that went to Depeche Mode last year and then saw Strange Love, and they were excited because they may have been fair weather and that they wanted to see their hits, and Depeche Mode was doing a lot of like deep stuff and new stuff and not the whole catalog of hits.
Right.
They were missing it, and so Strange Love, of course, is going to do everything that people know, which a tribute would, and so they could appreciate that. But the other question I had for you.
No, and just to touch on that, that's true. A lot of Depeche Mode fans, including myself, we wish they would explore their catalog a little deeper, and they don't. They tend to do, they're gonna play Strange Love, or they're gonna do a rendition of it. They're gonna play Never Let Me Down Again. They're gonna play Just Can't Get Enough. They're gonna play Personal Jesus. They're gonna play, World in My Eyes. Those are just staples that are gonna just happen no matter what. And there's other songs you're like, well, how come they didn't play this and how come they play it? So the tribute bands, they give you that, right? They're going to play those songs that Depeche Mode's never going to play. So I get that part of it.
The other thing I was going to ask you about, just in terms of DJing, because you mentioned that they're your favorite band, and having an appreciation for these bands and wanting to go deep cuts when you're mixing and playing these shows for people, in a way you're kind of serving up you're curating your set, right, for these people that might not know deep cuts. And so, I'm sure that a lot of people come to you after these shows going, dude, who did that one track? And you go, well, it was Depeche Mode. And they're like, I never knew they did that song, right? And so you've actually sort of educated them on a little bit of catalog that you feel like they should know and that they don't.
Yeah.
But the Prince stuff was he had so much experimental stuff. So you got huge catalog to draw
so
from.
Much. And the thing is like, like I said before, the way the DJ, well, especially the events that I'm DJing now, people are hiring me for, oh, can you play some 80s stuff? Or I play once a week. I play once a month in Laguna at a bar called Skyloft, and I play mostly with bands. So I get like 45-minute sets in between band sets. And so I come in, I play what I can play because I'm trying to keep the dance floor going. So I don't really have the opportunity to be as experimental as I would like to be, opposed to like maybe back in the 90s when, it was a different DJ game back then where I could really like play whatever I wanted. And quoted, I had a quote from a club owner that I used to work at. It's a club I used to work at in Irvine called Metropolis back in the 90s. And he used to record every DJ. He was this audiophile guy. He had DAT machines in where the amps were. And every night he would throw a DAT in and he record the whole night. And then he would listen to it back. And I remember he came up to me one night and he was like, yo, he's like, all right, Tony. He goes, you play great music. And I know you're trying to educate people, but you kind of have to play, stuff that people know and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, no.
Right.
And that's just the stubbornness of being a DJ. Because, the place wasn't like I was losing anybody. It wasn't like the club was dead because I'm a really good reader of the dance floor.
Yeah.
And I used to work at the Roxbury in Hollywood, right? And
Oh, you
so
did. All right.
yeah, I did that for the my friend Michael Marish. So let's kind of give you a timeline here. So I started DJing in '85 with my friends, and then the first club I ever got to DJ at ever was a club in Newport Beach called Roaring Twenties and Dazzles. And so a lot of us kids in the '80s, we would go to Newport Beach on the weekend, on during the week or on the weekends, and cruise Balboa Boulevard. Right, that was a cruise spot. You come down there, everybody got their mini trucks. They're cruising up and down, trying to get girls, whatever, guys, just being seen. And so the teen nightclub scene was a big thing back in the '80s. You had a lot of different all over, all over Southern California. You had so you had Maryland's in Pasadena. You had Club 321 in Santa Monica. You had in Orange County. You had the first club the first one was Circle City Disco in City of Orange, and then that same owner who I ended up working for eventually later had he had a club called Nightscape, and that was more of like it was a full on death rock, new romantic nightclub. He went from that club, he started Sensations. That club he kind of wanted to get away from the death rock thing, and he was trying to be a little bit more poppy. And he had some really crazy rules. And us kids in the '80s, you know how we used to dress. We wore eyeliner and makeup, and we were trying to emulate our favorite artists. And, we weren't wearing exactly collared shirts. We might have been wearing T-shirts, whatever. And he was like, you can't come in the club without a shirt. If you don't have a shirt, you can rent a shirt. And we're like, what? Bye, dude. And so this guy, I don't know his name. There was this club called Roaring Twenties and Dazzles. And it was a 21 and over club, but he decided on a Monday night he was going to make it a teen club, take all the alcohol out and just have teens in there. And so a friend of ours, who I give him credit, I'm like, you're the reason why I started DJing at nightclubs. It's all your fault. And I remember we all went, we're like, yo, let's go check out this new, because we're all back then, we were like, what club is new? Let's check out the new club. And so we all went that one night, and I remember showing up, and as soon as I walked in the door, his name was Gooch back then, we called him Gooch. And he was like, yo, you want a DJ here? Because the DJ here sucks. I'm like, yeah. And he was like, I told the owner about you. And literally the next weekend, me and my homie Tommy, who I learned how to DJ with, were DJing there. And we did it one whole summer. And then the next summer, he was like, called us up and he's like, I want you back. So we did it another summer. And then the guy, John, caught wind of us doing this. And he was like, hey, can you come to my club? And because he was doing all that weird rent a T-shirt crap. And so no one would go. Like there was he was not getting anyone coming there. So that's how we got involved with him. And we started Zap. And at the time he had a TV show for that Sensations. It was called California Dreaming. Didn't really pop. So we changed the name to Zap. We did all day glow, like spray. We painted the walls black, and we put like fluorescent splatter paint all over the walls. Had UV lights in it, so it was, you walked in there, it was like a day glow nightclub back in the '80s, which it worked. Yeah. And so we did that, and then we did our TV show, and our TV show was actually a hit. It was called Zap the TV Show.
What kind of stuff were you doing on that? I mean, aside from like mixing, was it like a sort of a comedy show or
no? So it was if you think of Soul Train or you think of American Bandstand, it was a version, or it was a Dance Party USA. It was like that. So
dancers in the club.
So so the club had two sides, had one big side and another side, and the DJ booth was in the center, and there was it was a weird setup, but it worked. And so we would film on the larger side of the club. And initially what we did was, he was very brilliant. He was like, look, we got artists. I mean, we had Paula Abdul, Bobby Brown, New Kids on the Block, Will Smith, Jazzy Jeff, and Fresh Prince. We had them. We had Two Live Crew. We had Information Society. We had, who else do we have? Gosh, the list goes on. New Kids on the Block. We had, and we were able to get them. It was amazing. So when they would go do Soul Train, we got a hold of the man. So initially we were getting whatever acts at first, but then we started getting some acts, and we were like, we'll send a limo, we'll have you come, we'll film, and we'll send you back to LA. And so Soul Train would bring these artists out, or whatever, American Bandstand, and we would get them to come to Anaheim and do our show. And at one point, then it got to a point where they were calling us, yo, we want to do your show. Yeah, we're in town. Can we do your show? And and we almost got syndicated. We got super close to getting syndicated. But
was it just cable access at this point?
Yeah, we were on channel KDOC 58 in Anaheim, and so we were seeing all over Orange County. We were, for whatever reason, we were in Guam. I don't know how that happened. We get fan mail from Guam. I'm like, how are they seeing us in Guam? But they did. And so we had some meetings. We were hoping we were going to get syndicated. We had Rick Lewis from Power 106 as our host. So we had segments. So it would be like a dance segment. Then Rick Lewis would do that. We'd read fan mail. And then they had this thing. My old DJ name was Pretty Tony. That was my DJ name back in the day.
Nice.
And so there was called the Pretty Tony Zap Mix. And there was a segment where I would do a medley of like, as many songs as I can fit in that segment. So if it was like 3-4 minute segment, I just pick up all the songs out and I would just like speed mix through all that on that big Yamaha mixer.
Wow.
And so, it was a learning experience. Like, and we didn't get paid for that either. Like, I used to complain. I'm like, dude, you're not even paying me for this. He was like, I remember John would say, sometimes experience is the best pay.
Oh, yeah, some places are still saying that now.
And I'm like, and I'm like 17-year-olds like, nah, man, I want some money, bro. You got me here on a Sunday? What? No. You know what I'm saying?
Working late.
And I mean, you're talking, these are all day. We get there like at 11. And so what he would do is he would film, the artist would come during the week and we'd film them with no crowd. And then on the weekends, we'd have the kids that dance at the club and say, hey, if you want to be on the TV show, come on Sunday, and we're going to film, dance segments. And we do all the dance segments separate, and then he would edit it all together. And so, funny story, Bobby Brown came to the show, and he shows up like he was freaking late as hell. And then it was like on a Friday night. It was a Friday afternoon. So he shows up, and he was like, he gets there, and he walks in, and he's like, where's everybody at? And we're like, oh, no, we film, we'll film you, and then, then we'll edit. And he's like, nah, I need a crowd in front of me. And he was like, and so John, the owner, is like, well, okay. He's like, well, we're open tonight. Like, we're going to have kids here. He goes, all right, we'll do it tonight. So we're like, oh shit. So like, we have to set up all the cameras. So that night turned into like a taping, which was great. So the kids got to see Bobby Brown perform, Don't Be Cruel and My Prerogative and Roni. And he hung out with them the whole night at the height of his height, right?
Yeah.
And he was cool. He hung out with everybody. He was chilling. He was like, people lost their minds like that, And so that was just hilarious. He was like, nah, dude, I'm not doing that without a crowd. I gotta have some people in front of me. Where's the girls at?
Right. Yeah. Like, I need some,
so.
Man, I mean, like, it would be tough actually to do that kind of thing and hype it up without a crowd.
It was
really,
I mean, some of them did. They just do their routines and then they would leave. Like, it was. He was the only one that ever like made Will Smith came, no problem. Vanessa Williams came, no problem. Paula Abdul came. New Kids on the Block. They all came and did it the way we normally do it, except for Bobby Brown. Bobby's like, nah, that's not how we doing that.
Did you stay in touch with him after?
Who?
Bobby? Yeah. Because you've maintained a relationship with a lot of cats between then and now, right? I mean, you've run across a lot of these guys.
Yeah, Bobby, Bobby was cool. He was super cool when I met him. I haven't seen Bobby in like forever. The last time I saw Bobby Brown, I was at the A Love Between Thin Line and Hate, A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, the movie he was in with Robert Lawrence and I think her something Washington, whatever. And I went to the wrap party or the premiere party, and it was at the Palace, now the Avalon. And so I'm in the VIP room, and I'm actually hanging out with Guru, rest in peace, and Ed OG from the Bulldogs. And we're talking, and I see Bobby around the other side of he's like around the corner. He's with some girls and, just whatever. And he like looks at me. I can see him we make eye contact. And he literally walks around. He walks up to me. He's like, yo, don't I know you, man? I'm like, yeah, you know me, bro. I used to, I was on the TV show Zap. He's like, oh, bro, what's up, man? How you been? And he was just like normal. And so, I mean, if I ran into him again, it'd be the same situation. He'd be like, yo, what's up, bro? Because that was like a memorable situation for him. And he remembers me. I mean, I hung out with him the whole day. I took him to the mall, took him to the Main Place Mall. I was wearing the suit that day, and he was like, yo, where'd you get your suit? I was like, oh, I got the suit at this mall over here called Signal. He's like, you got to take me there, bro. I got to get a suit. I said, all right. So we went to the mall, walking through the mall with Bobby Brown. And I'm always in that mall all the time. So people are looking at me like, damn, you're with Bobby Brown. And I was man. And then I walked in the store because I always shop there. And I'm like, hey, Bobby. And they're like, oh, we know who he is. And they're like, he needs a suit. He likes this. Can you get him this suit? So he literally got the same suit I had on, except for in brown. It's hilarious.
Hopefully they hook you up afterward. I mean, that's good promo.
Yeah, they didn't hook me up, bro. It was the 80s. They was like, nah, whatever. Thanks for bringing them in.
Right. Next.
But I've through my experiences of working in Hollywood and working at, like my friend Michael Marish, who I met Brian Austin Green in LA back in the early 90s, and we were doing a club. That's me and him started doing a club together.
You and Brian did?
Yes. So we did this thing called me and my buddy Todd, Brian, and I did a club called Cannibalistics. And it was at Carlos and Charlie's across the street from Roxbury, the club across the street.
Yeah.
And we did it for a short amount of time, and it just wasn't. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks. And I remember Brian walks in and he say, yo, he's like, my boy's got this club at Bar One. He's like, he wants me to promote with it, and I'm gonna go do that. He's like, but you got to be the DJ. I said, yeah, let's do it. He's like, the only thing is, it's just gonna be you, your homie. He can't be part of it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I had to tell Tom, like, hey, man, I'm doing this thing. I was like, you can't be. He's like, oh, all right. You'll just make sure I'm on the guest list, so I'm good. I'm like, all right, you'll be on the guest list, dude. Don't sweat it. And so that's when I met Michael Marish. And Michael Marish he did a lot of celebrity basketball games back then. They were called the Hollywood Nights. So he would, they would go to high schools, and he would get, 90210 stars. He would get, Fresh Prince, stars, Saved by the Bell, soap opera stars. And then they would all go, they would rent a bus, and we would go to schools, and they would play the faculty as a fundraiser.
Wow.
And then cool. I would DJ during the halftime while they were signing autographs and stuff like that. And so Michael did that for like years and years and years, but he also promoted nightclubs. So we did this club called Bar One. It's now called Bootsy Ballos now. It's right there before you get to the end of Doheny. And it was just off the hook, man. We threw Brian's 19th birthday party. Now, how ironic is that? It's a 21 and over club, and we throw his 19th birthday party there. But that's just, it's Hollywood. So, it was just insane. And we did well. I mean, every child actor that you can think of was in there, and I was around. I was the DJ, so I got to know all these kids. Like we were all in our early 20s and doing the club thing. And so I still have maintained a relationship with Brian Austin Green and Michael Marish. And I've and just through my travels of LA, I used to work at a record store. I transitioned from, once I lived in LA, I started working at a record store called Beat Nonstop on Melrose. I worked there for almost a decade, like 8 or 9 years. And I was the main record buyer. I was the hip hop buyer. So they hired me to buy the hip hop records for the store, which eventually transitioned into buying just all the 12 inches, like from hip hop and house and disco, R&B, and which was a great learning experience for me. I was one of those. When I moved to LA, I moved to LA with aspirations of being in an R&B group. So I was in a group. We almost got signed to Motown Records. Didn't happen. The group just couldn't get shit together, and I ended up working at Motown Records for about a year in there in the A&R department. But we were in the archives, so our job was to. And it's funny, our manager was Jason Joshua. You know who that is?
Oh, no, but I know the name.
Yeah, that dude is the master mixer for everything. He was our manager. So, and he was young.
But he wasn't known for management, though, right? Because it wasn't he.
No. So
he'd worked with a lot of the guys that came out from back east, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he work?
So Jason Joshua, he's like his godfather was Gerald Busby, and his mom was Sherry Fowler. She was the vice president of administration. He was the president of Motown, and
that's it.
Jason was the godfather, the son of Cheryl. He was the godson of Gerald, but Sherry's son, and so he was going to be our manager. And then he got into A&Ring. And then, the record industry kind of went sideways. And then he was like, I'm going to go to school for mixing music. If you look up this dude's, and I didn't even know this. I fell out of contact with him. I started doing my own thing. I wasn't even talking to him anymore. And one of my buddies, who's an R&B artist, who's still been in contact with him, we were talking years ago, and he's like, dude, you know what Jason Fowler's doing? I'm like, no. He's like, dude, look up Jason Joshua. And I looked up his Wikipedia, and I mean, he's mixed everybody's music from Rihanna, Madonna, Justin Timberlake, like the list just goes on and on and on and on. He's got like 16 Grammys.
Wow.
He's just like insane mixer. Like if you want your stuff mixed, you go to Jason Joshua. He's actually, I think he just created some new plugins. He was at NAMM just recently, but he was our manager. And so his mom, we're young kids. She's like, you guys need to work. So this is what we're going to do. We got this project going on with, MCA used to own Motown, and they sold it to Polydor. And so they sent us to archive the Motown their whole library. So our job was to inventory all the master reels. They're like, this will be a learning experience for you. And I remember getting to the warehouse in Burbank. It was called Pacific Title. This is like warehouse in Burbank that just does that just stores, real
tapes.
videotapes, whatever. Just it's an archive place. And so we're working out of there, and dude, it was just like I was holding like the master reels to like Marvin Gaye and the Supremes, and like just everything. It was like, and we had to organize everything, and like we had to put it in order. Then we had to inventory it by hand. No computer, it was all paper. And I was just like, couldn't believe the stuff I remember opening the Marvin Gaye Heard It Through the Grapevine, and that's the master 24-inch reel. And it's like, I'm looking at the track. It's all written in pencil. Marvin's vocals here, hi-hat here. I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm holding this right now. This is insane.
No, you know what I'm saying? That's history, man.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, I only was there about a year, and then they laid us off, and then I went, and that's when I ended up at Beat Non-Stop. I got laid off from that job. I was still DJing, still trying to get my footing in LA for DJing. This is before I even met Brian Green. And then I started working at Beat Non-Stop, and then I was like, okay, cool. I'm at Melrose. This is gonna like actually help my DJ career because I'm working in a record store, a DJ specialty store.
And in the heart of it all too, right?
And I'm in the heart of Melrose. I mean, we're in Melrose, man. You're talking like when Melrose was like booming, if I don't care where you lived, you lived in freaking Florida, and you're like, well, we're gonna go to LA, we're gonna go to Melrose, because then you had Melrose Place on TV, right? So it was just a trifecta, right? So
but everything, fashion and the music and everything was all right there.
And so I worked at that store, and I got a lot of I got a lot of DJ gigs out of it. I met a lot of people. I ended up at one point I started doing stuff for Virgin Records. Just dude walked into the record store because he came in there on time, and they're like, we need a DJ for Crystal Chemical Brothers after party. And the owner's like, you want Tony? And then dude walked up to me, he's like, yo, can you do it? And I'm like, yeah. And then that was my relationship with them for a couple of years. I did the Chemical Brothers party. I did a party for them. I did the Rolling Stones. They had a private party at the owner. So the at the time, Nancy and Ken Berry owned, where they were the vice president of Virgin Records, and he lived in Bel Air, and he would have these lavish parties at his. So the Chemical Brothers party was at his house. Then he called me like about a couple months later, and like, hey, Steel Wheels Tour is in town. We're doing a pre-party for the concert at our house. Bro, walked into that freaking house, and like I was like, oh my God, okay. They're making everybody sign NDAs, like you can't write, like, yeah. And there was no cell phones back then. There was no camera phones anyway. So like, no, you got to sign something. So if you
tell
see
me what's going on
in here.
You don't talk. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So tell me about a show like that, right? So you get signed up.
Sign that shit,
are you bringing a PA in? Oh, you didn't. All right. So you bring your own PA in?
No,
you bring your PA.
They had everything for me, man. I brought my records. My headphones, and my needles. And
that's it.
I remember I rolled in there, and it was just like insane. I was like, wow, okay, this is lavish. I had this like 5 foot like lobster oyster shooter wall with like oysters up there, and like freaking like just absolute and just shot glasses. So you just like put the oyster in it, put the vodka in there, and you're just like doing oyster shooters with freaking vodka. I was like, wow. And dude, everyone in their mama, everyone in their mama was in there, bro. I'm talking, I saw Kevin Spacey, Farrah Fawcett, Marilyn Manson was in there. Billy Corgan was in there. Naomi Campbell was there. The Rolling Stones were there. Funny, I was DJing, right? And I'm playing something, and I look to my right, and there's Mick Jagger looking at me. And he's like, yeah. You're like shaking his head. I'm like, and you're like trying to hold your composure. You're like, damn, that's like, I'm DJing for freaking, Mick Jagger right now.
As big as it gets, man. Yeah.
Dude, so surreal. It was like, and that's what I was like, wow. I'm like, where am I right now? Like, here's this kid out of Orange County, and now I'm in Hollywood in Beverly Hills in like some giant mansion, and doing this thing. And after I did that party, then they hit me up and they're like, oh, yo, by the way, Lenny Kravitz coming out with his 5 album. We need you to DJ his listening party. So I did that. I've done some crazy DJ things in my life. I've DJ'd at the Olympics. I did the 2001 Olympics. I was on when I went on tour with my buddy BT, who you know of him.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you how you guys connected, if you met that kind of way.
No, it's fun. I always tell people about LA, especially back in the 90s. All of us artists, if you want to make it, you got to go to LA, right? Got to go to LA. And so I moved there, lived there for a while, and I was making my way, as a 20-year-old, just doing whatever. I meet Brian Austin Green, become friends with him, lifelong friend. And then but I met BT first, and so how that happened is my buddy, the R&B guy that I was doing the group with, who knows Jason Joshua, he knew Tommy Page, and he's like, yo, and we're trying to make money, like we're trying to do, and he's like, yo, Tommy Page needs some dancers to go on tour with them, and I'm like, oh, well, dude, we could dance. He's like, yeah, so we're gonna go over to his house, and we're gonna dance. I'm like, cool, let's do it. So we roll over to his house and we dance, we make a little routine. He's like, and we're going to go to Japan. He had some Japan tour he was going to do. So I'm like, cool, we're going to go to Japan. I've never been to Japan. That sounds go. Let's do it. So we come over, we do the routine. We're like, cool. So you're like, come back tomorrow. We'll do it. We'll rehearse again. So I'm like, cool. So we leave, come back the next day, and we're pulling up to his house. And I hear this house music pumping, boom, and I'm like, yo, I look at Aaron, I'm like, yo, Tommy Page likes house music? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, so we walk in his house, and there's this dude with his little IBM computer, an MPC 60, making beats. And I'm like, yo, and we're still trying to get our deal our deal for Motown at the time. So we're looking for producers. So I'm like, I go, yo, is that your music, bro? He's like, yeah. I'm like, yo, dude, you're dope, bro. What's your name? He's like, Brian Transo. I'm like, okay. I'm like, we need to work with you. We're trying to get this. We got a development deal at Motown, and I can already tell by hearing you, bro, you know what's up. And he was like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, get a hold of my manager. And I'm like, all right, cool. So we leave. And I'm telling my homie, I'm like, yo, that dude is dope, bro. I'm telling you right now, that dude is like no joke. And he was like, yeah. I'm like, dude. So we get back to the house and we like call him, and we're like, we got an idea for a song. We started humming like a bass line into the phone. So then, a few hours go by. He calls us back. He's like, yo. He's like, dude, you guys should come over. I made a beat to that, what you guys did. And we're like, what? He's like, yeah. So we're like, all right. So we jump in a ride. He lived off of Beverly Glen in Beverly Hills. So we rode over there, walk in the house. This dude makes this crazy track just off a bass line that we hummed in. And we're like, whoa, this dude's no joke. We never end up, nothing really panned out from that other than a friendship, and I did another track with him. He called me into the studio. He's always done that. He's called me in the studio. He's like, yo, I'm doing this project, and can you come in there? And I went in there and did some ad libs and some like freestyle vocals or whatever. And, he was just, doing demo stuff. And then I met this other dude, friend of mine, this guy named Jimmy Sommers, who's an amazing saxophone player. I met him because Brian knew him. And so, and I'm still friends with that guy to this day too. Amazing saxophone player. And so we just kind of always stayed in touch. And then he ended up moving back to Maryland. And he was like, he was trying to be a pop star like most people. And they're like, you make record labels are like, you make terrible pop records, you'll never be a star, blah, blah. And I remember telling him, like, dude, you make dope house music, fuck the pop shit. And I'm working at the record store, and I'm like, dude, just make some dance records, bro. I work at a record store, dude. I'll push your shit, dude. Like, I'll help sell them. He's like, so he goes back and works with one of his buddy named Lee, this guy named Leland, or no, Levin or something like that. And he had a label called Music Now. They put out a track. It was called Nocturnal Transmission. And Sasha got a hold of it, heard it, was like, this is crazy. Got a hold of Brian, flew him over to London, and then Brian started remixing everything with Sasha. So like in the early 90s, you see like Sasha BT. They did Madonna. They did Seal. They did Cher. They just like, so because Sasha was getting all these remixes thrown his way, but he is nowhere near as musically talented as Brian. So Brian's like, okay, cool. This is kind of my footing. So then he ended up hooking up with Paul Oakenfold. Oakenfold signs him to Perfecto. And then boom, he does his first album, Ema. It blows up, and then it just kind of, and then so he does Ema, then he does ECSM, and then at this point, I've now gotten married. I've kind of moved out of LA. I've got 2 kids. My oldest, Elijah, who I think I see him in the chat here.
What's up, Elijah? Good to see you,
my youngest, my middle, and I had 2. I had Elijah, and then I had Jonas. So I'm literally like, I'm driving city buses in Orange County. I'm like, okay, still driving, still DJing, but like, I got to make actual money. I got to have health insurance. I got kids. I can't be fucking around no more. So, so I started driving city buses because my dad had been doing it for like 28 years. He's like, you should probably be thinking about, you got kids now, and he got my ex-wife all on board. Yeah, you can't work at a record store the rest of your life. And I'm like, says who?
Tony Stewart has to grow up, man. That's no fun.
I'm like, says who?
Yeah.
So anyways, so I'm driving city buses, right? And I come home from, I'm supposed to I love telling this story. So I'm supposed to DJ some club in LA. I'm all excited. I'm like, I get to DJ. I'm fiending. And I get a call and they're like, oh, yeah, man, we don't need you, bro. It's all good. I'm like, fuck, man, all right, whatever. So then I get a phone call, and, Elijah's running around playing on the floor, doing whatever, my ex is at work. I got the kids now because I would get off early. I would go to work at like 4:30 in the morning, and then she would get home like, and then his grandmother would leave at 11 because I get home like noon. So I'm like, cool, I'm chilling, whatever. And I get this phone call from like a 405 area code. I'm like, who is this? What's this number? So I call the number back, and it's like, some hotel, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I go, where are you? She's like, we're in Toronto, Canada. And I'm thinking to myself, like, who in the heck is calling me from Toronto? And I went, I go, you got a Brian Transo staying there? I don't know what made me say that,
Yeah.
That's the only person I could think of that would be over there. And they're like, oh yeah, hold on, let me patch you to his room. So I'm like, oh, what's this dude calling me for? And I'm like, yo, Brian, it's Tony. He's like, dude, bro, I've been trying to get a hold of you, man. He's like, yo, I'm going on tour, bro. I'm like, yo, cool. He's like, yo, you got to DJ the tour for me. I'm like, what? He's like, yo, you got to DJ the tour, man. I got to have you. And I'm like, okay, I'm in.
I can't, man. I'm driving buses, man. Leave me alone.
So I'm like, I can't, dude. I'm like, I might go. No, I go, I'm in. I go, when? He goes, we're gonna be gone a long time now. And I'm like, well, how long? He's like, a long time. I said, he's like, so I go, well, I'm gonna do it. He's like, Mom, I'm doing it. And he was like, well, you might want to talk to your wife, bro. And I'm like, yeah, I'm still doing it. So I get off the phone with them, and so
Elijah, this is why you never saw your dad for a year and a half.
But. Yeah, so she comes home. It wasn't as long as he said it was going to be. It was only 6 weeks, but that's a long time for a 4-year-old to be away from his dad.
Yeah, and so, absolutely.
And so she comes home. I'm like, hey, so I got some good news and bad news. She goes, well, what's the good news? I go, well, BT just called me, wants me to go on tour with them. She's like, oh, you're going to do that, right? I said, well, yeah. And I go, the bad news, I got to quit my job.
Oh, yeah.
So,
pay you all right, though?
What's that?
Did he pay you all right?
Oh, you paid
all
right?
Right?
Oh, I got paid great.
Yeah.
He took. It was back then. It was back then, right? So
yeah,
it was a
money was there.
You know, it was there. It was a full tour bus tour. You know, we had 3 tour buses. It was sponsored by Jensen Car Stereos. We did 32 shows across North America in 6 weeks.
Nice, man.
And that was my first, and I DJ'd pretty much every night. So not only was I in the band, I was part of the band. I did scratching, I did vocals, and then also DJ'd before the warm up. So I DJ'd when it opened, and then I DJ'd with the set changeover. And so it was BT and Hooverphonic was the support, which they wanted to say it was a co-headlining tour, and they're from Belgium. And it was just amazing, man. It was and so I end up meeting, so, you know how this works, you're on the road, you're meeting all these different people, they see what you're doing. And so once the tour ended, about not even a year later, Christine Hansen, who at the time had 33 Productions, she hits me up and she's like, yo, I'm DJ, I'm doing an event at the 2002 Winter Olympics. She's like, you got to DJ it. And I'm like, okay. So she flew me to Park City, and I did this whole snowboard event. It was an after party for the snowboarders. And it was and so I was just like, yo, this is what I want to be doing. You know what I mean? So, and then I didn't really stay in it as hard because, my kid's getting older, and then you're married, and you're not really getting the support you want from your partner and things of that sort. And so I kind of always still DJ, but when I left that's how I ended up in Portland, because I left. I was going to ask, I left Southern California, and my ex wanted to be near her family, so I moved to Portland, and so then I was in Portland. I wasn't even DJing for 10 years. I was actually working for the city of Oregon City, and I was doing just nothing DJ oriented. I ended up leaving that job, and then my buddy BT's like, you should work at Guitar Center, and then I ended up at Guitar Center. And so that's how that's how me and you met. And so, and I stayed at Guitar Center for 11 years. And I left last year. It was time for a change and to move on. But it was, I learned a lot. I met a lot of people like yourself, and I learned a lot about the industry on the other side of gear and equipment, and helping other people realize what their musical aspirations, because I've been there, and I got to learn the equipment about a lot more than just DJ controllers. I learned mics and just everything, guitars and strings and drums, and selling drums, throwing into it, go sell that kit. I don't what I don't okay.
Well, hey, man, a lot of that machine, I mean, the corporate thing must have been, it had to be weird, right?
It was terrible. I mean, to be honest with you, it was. I loved meeting people like you, and I loved being around like-minded people. But I watched that company deteriorate, Started there in 2012 and ended in 2023. And so in that time, wow. How it used to be, you walk into Guitar Center and dudes got on flannels, they got their swag on, they got their name tag, and it's just like a straight cool vibe, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like now we're wearing uniforms, and it's like it just changed, and like I think they got away from what made them what they were, right? It's like, and they've also, not only that, they pushed everyone who knows anything about music equipment out, so like I watched guys that like just knew everything about everything, and they ended up leaving. They're like, I'm out, man, I can't do this no more. Like they're making me not like music anymore, right? and it's true. It's like it wasn't about the music, it was about like everything else but the music, and so, which is corporations, right? That's corporate America, right? So
it is.
But yeah, that was the beauty of, that was what I love about working there, is meeting people like you, and being around like-minded people. I met so many amazing people working at Guitar Center, and I'll never trade that, because like it was just amazing. And I leave with the knowledge, right? I leave with lots of experience, and I can, when I go to shows, I'm like looking at the gear. I'm like, what is he using?
Right. Yeah. Well, a lot of people that discovered, a lot of people that you met through there, I see them on the Instagram feed. Jennifer Batten, I see you there. I know that she met you through GC. Brandon Cook.
I just saw something on Instagram today, and it was like Michael Jackson performing at the Super Bowl, and I'm like, oh, there's Jennifer.
There's Jennifer. That's right, man. Yeah. We going back to BT, man, this is crazy. My first discovery of him was late night TV when he did the collab with the Roots, man. He did Dow.
Oh, I remember when that happened. I remember that. Dude. He told me about that. So
it was crazy, dude. And that was the first time I ever saw the Roots, actually. And so, like, those guys, of course, there's a connection, right? Because you'd worked with a couple of those dudes later, if I remember right. Is that correct?
No, I never worked with the Roots. I mean, I worked with the Far Side. So I just recently
that's what it was.
I toured with the Far Side. I've known, and this is what's very cyclical, is when I started working at when I was doing that Club Zap, Trey and Imani from the Far Side used to come to the club, and they used to dance and listen to me DJ. They come up and they bring me records. They were just like the homies. It was around, and so ironically, I'm hanging out at BT's house. This is in the early 90s, and the club closed, and we all, there's no Facebook, there's no Instagram, if you don't have dude's phone number, then, and you did have it, you lost it, and you moved, and like now you're lost in contact, right? And so I remember I'm at BT's house, and we're watching Yo MTV Raps, and the song Your Mama comes on, the video, and I hear it, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of funky. And I'm watching the video, and I see, first you see Romai, and then you see Fat Lip, and I'm like, oh. And then I see Trey, and I'm like, Trey? I'm like, wait a minute, that's Trey. And then the next dude's Imani. I'm like, I know those dudes. They got a group called The Far Side. I'm like, oh, shit. So, and I never ran into them. Ironically, it was weird. Even being in LA, I never really saw them. And then even when I was working at Beat Nonstop, I dealt with Delicious Vinyl all the time. The A&R reps would come in all the time, like bringing me the Far Side cassette tapes to play on the TV in there, bringing me promo records. Yo, this is a new record by the Far Side. And I'm like, oh, I know these dudes. Yeah. And it took when me and Brian Austin Green were going to do a project together. I kind of helped on one of the songs on his solo album that he came out with in '93. And we were going to be in a group, but then he was signed to Yab Yum, and they really just wanted to focus on, we just want you, Brian. So I got cut out, which is okay. But that's just how the industry goes, you know what I mean? Because I used to tell Brian, I'm like, dude, do not want to use your name on your album ever, never as hip hop. And he's like, I know. And then Babyface, because he was signed to Tracy Edmonds and Babyface's label, Yab Yum, they're like, oh no, we want to use your name because like we want to sell records. And I'm like, dude, like that is not, you can't, like back then, the hip hop, um, the hip hop heads were not going to accept a kid that was on 90210 doing hip hop.
Yeah.
So, anyways, when we were sitting in, me and Brian was sitting in the car, we were going to the set, and we were like bumping the Roots and bumping Far Side and busting Souls of Mischief and playing all this hip hop stuff. And I would be getting promos, and I'd be like, "Yo, I got this tape from the label. Listen to this," because we were super tight back then. And he's like, "I want to work with the Far Side. I want the First Side." I'm like, I know Trey. He's like, "Yeah." And so eventually, when they came in, he got Trey in, and that's when I reconnected with him. I saw him. I was like, "Yo, dude," and he was like, "Yo, bro, it's so good to see you." And then that was right around 95, 96, and that's when I had my kids. So then I moved away from LA, and I kind of was distanced away. But out of craziness, I ended up moving to Portland. Trey lived in Portland, and we reconnected.
Really?
And so he lives in Vancouver now. But in like 2005, when I was up there for about a year, and this is when MySpace was still there, and he was like, "Yo," "I see you're in Portland." He's like, "Is it cool?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's chill, bro." He's like, "Well, I'm dating this girl, and she's up there, and I'm gonna come up there." And then we started he started DJing, because like the Far Side broke up, and you know there's a lot of like inner drama with the band, and so he wasn't really doing.
Imagine that.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate, but it's just the way it is. You already know how it is, man.
Yeah.
And so
pretty familiar.
Yeah. And so two guys were together. The other two guys were together. And then just in the last 2 years, the one guy that was on the other side decided to get back with the other two. So now it's 3 of them. So they're 3/4 of a band now. And so they've been touring pretty strong. Right now they're on tour with Cypress Hill and Souls of Mischief.
Wow.
And so they've been going crazy lately. And so I got the opportunity to DJ with them because one of their DJs couldn't get over the border to Canada, and he was like, I was opening from here in Solana Beach, and he was like, "Yo," and it was funny. I just got back from Europe. We were in Europe for like 2.5 weeks. Flew back. I DJ that night, and they're like, "Yo, we need a DJ," and I'm like, "Well, okay, I can do it for you." And they're like, "You would do it?" I'm like, "Yeah, bro. What are you talking about? Like, you guys are the homies. Of course, it'd be an honor." And so they're like, "Okay, talk to the manager." It all happened in the parking lot, and then I came home and I told Trish. It was like the same story. Go, "Hey, babe, I think I'm going on tour with the Far Side." She's like, "Oh, you better be." Oh, yes. And so,
how
literally,
cool
I was
that,
home.
Dude,
I was literally home for 2 days, dude. And the next thing you know, I was on a plane to Canada for 7 days or 8. Nice, it was like 9 or some days, and it was fun. It was awesome. It was got to hang out with those guys, and they're looking at me and like, "Dude, this is a crazy moment. We used to come dance with you. We used to dance to your music back in the day. And then now here you are DJing for us on tour." He's like, "This is insane." And it was amazing. So I hope I get to do it again. They use a bunch of different DJs. I'm like one of the few DJs. They use Newmark. They've got a guy in Germany they use. They got a guy named DJ Cell who does most of their United States stuff. So they're like, "Yo, we'll use it again when we find a spot for you. We need you." But I got to do it once, and it was amazing. So
yeah,
and it is. What it is? It's fun to watch, to see, and you see this all the time. You get to see fans of a band, and you get to see how they respond to them. And so it was really fun to see 2 dudes I've known since we were like 17 years old, and then go to Canada and watch people admire their music. I got to do that with BT when I was on tour with them, like where no one knew who the hell that dude was, and watching him grow, and then being on the road with him and seeing people like, "Oh my God, your music's changed my life," and then I'm like, yeah, I told you, dude, this shit was dope. So
that's a magical thing for sure. And I don't even mean to dismiss that at all, but I want to talk about the magic of having a supportive partner. I mean, you're talking about Trish saying, "Oh my God, yeah, you got to go do this." And you talked about, the mother of your kids doing the same thing early on, back when you had your first opportunity to tour.
Yeah.
Some people that watch this show and hang out, as musicians, they ask these questions, like, "Man, what do you do if, you don't have somebody that's as supportive, or they don't understand how important the passion of music is to you?" because at the end of the day, I mean, if you're out doing this stuff, it's a job, right? I mean, you're doing a job and you're getting paid to do it,
100%.
and so sometimes they can't equate what you're doing the same way they might for like a traveling salesperson, right? Or or something like that.
It takes a special person. I mean, to be honest with you, my first, my original marriage, the support wasn't really there. I mean, in that moment, it was for the second, but I think in a whole, it wasn't really there. Um, um, she did the best she could do with what she had, you know what I mean? Like, and being a mom and, like, I mean, even when I went on that tour of BT, she, it was not easy for her. And, especially like she came out a couple times on the road and like, the jealousy thing started to show up and I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to just work, dude. I don't care about any of that. You know what I mean? I've never been that dude. That's not how, I mean, I've been DJing since I was, 15 years old. And like, that groupie thing is not how Tony rolls. That's just not my thing. I appreciate you liking what I'm doing, but like what I'm doing is not me doing this to like get girls. It's never ever been. That's not why I do this. I love music so much, and I like to share it. And it's just and there's guys they get into it because they want girls, right? Like, oh, I'm a celebrity and I'm able to bang all these girls and all this whatever. Like that's not who I am. So I had to deal with a lot of that stuff in my marriage. I don't deal with that now, which is very amazing. And it's and actually really supporting, like encouraging me and like, you can do this and you should do this and like, I have this idea, and that's what I get with Trish. And I couldn't be more thankful to have her in my life because she lets me be me, like all the way. You know what I mean? And I think, that's a battle for a lot of artists. Being able to like have that kind of support. Because it can be. You're on the road all the time. You know what I mean? Like. I'm not in that position. I mean, like even Trey, he's on the road. He's constantly, and he's got like a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old. So he's like, and he's like, I mean, he's like, he does. I mean, they started on the 17th of last month, and he's not going to be home until the 17th of this month. You know what I mean? It's a big tour. You know what I mean? Then he'll be home for like, a month or two, and then then he's gone for 4 weeks, right? And so that can be challenging. You really have to have somebody that supports what you're doing, or or you be Ozzy and you just take everybody with you, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, Pink is a great example, right? I mean, I watched, like I knew her drummer for a long time, and I watched how Pink would take her kids, and sometimes her husband would come out when he's not out racing motorcycles. And
exactly.
He's got nannies even there. And I think, very few people can actually pull that off, but
it's challenging. I mean, especially when you're on a Pink level, or you're on like, you're just like high, like, Taylor Swift, just use her example. Imagine if she had kids and was married, right? She would have to take them all with her. There's no way
all the time,
because she's just too massive. She can't, she's gonna be gone for like months, like not like not a week, like 18 months on the road. Like got to bring her family with her. She can't. Like you are not going to. You're with me, right? So So I mean, I'm like blow ball, small fry shit, but like it's still
we all are compared to Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I mean, but again, like DJing in nightclubs at night, and leaving and going to the club and coming home at 2:30 in the morning, and like not your partner's going to bed alone. She's not. And even with me doing my TikTok stuff, like I'll start at like 6 o'clock at night, and then I'll get off at 1 in the morning, right? And she's like, I'm out. I'm going to bed, right? I mean, at least I'm in the house, right? She knows I'm right downstairs. So, but even this, she's like, "How was last night? Like, how'd you do? Was it good? Like, and that means a lot. That it's like she cares. Like, how'd you do? Like, did you get any subscriptions? Did it do? That's cool. That's not always. Everyone doesn't always have that. No one always. She and the cool thing is she likes music as much as I do. Right. So, and she likes records and buys records like I do, like records show up at the house. She's like, oh no. She's like, oh yeah, I got some record. I'm like, oh, what's that record? She goes, oh, I ordered a record. She goes, it's not yours, it's mine.
You guys are arm wrestling over the records, man.
I was like, I'm like, we got to order another one of those.
How did you get, because I heard a little bit about your connection, man, but the really cool thing was like, Tony just disappeared from Portland, right? And you went down to California, and I think there was a really cool reunion. You want to tell a little bit about how you guys met and connected?
Yeah. So, it's fun. It's actually it's awesome. So the thing is, I've known Trish since I was 15. She used to go to Knott's Berry Farm. She was she was a Knott's kids like I was. So
you didn't dance battle her, did you?
No, I dance battled her ex-boyfriend though.
Awesome. Okay.
Me and her ex-boyfriend, we were rivals.
That's where this started. All right.
Yeah. She's like, you never looked at me. I was like, no, because you was dating that dude. So like, why would I look at you? She's like, no, you had eyes for Kamisha. You were into Kamisha. You weren't seeing no one. Well, she's not lying. It's true. And so, but anyways, so we, she was married for 20 years. I was married for 20 years. And, we all have all the same friends. And unfortunately, marriages don't last forever. And my friend, who's her friend, was like, I was turning 50. So this is 2019. And I was having my 50th birthday party in LA. And I wanted to be a reunion. I was like, I never got to go to any of the Knott's Berry Farm reunions because my ex-wife was not going to be cool with that. And it would have been drama if I did it. And so I just never went. And so I always saw them like, oh, we went to Old World or we did this or that. I was like, man, I want to see some of these old friends. We had so much fun together. So this was my opportunity because at this point, me and her were done. And so I was like, I want to do this like 50th birthday party and I want to do it in LA and I'm going to invite like some of my old Knott's friends. And so one of my other friends, she's like, yeah, we're going to do it. She lived in New York at the time. And she was like, so she flew out, helped organize it with another girlfriend of mine, really dear friend. And she was like, we got the location. We called it Reunion. And it was my birthday party though. And so we invited all the Knott's friends. And so Trish, my friend Randy was like, hey, she calls me up. She's like, hey, so I'm coming to your party, but I'm inviting Trish. You should know who she is. And I'm like, Trish? She goes, yeah, you know her. She went to Knott's. She's like, I go, well, yeah, of course. I want Knott's heads there. Yes. And she totally can come. So she
Knott's heads.
Yeah, that's where you were Knott's heads. So she sent me a Facebook. Well, I think she talked to Randy and she sent me a Facebook request. And I looked at her photo and I'm like, damn. I was like, how do I not remember? What? And I looked at her face. I go, I kind of remember, but damn, she's fine. I was like, yeah, I'm glad she's coming. So we get to the party.
Happy birthday to me.
Yeah, but I was DJing my own party. So I get to the party and my buddy Aaron Parr, really great DJ in LA, does Dub Labs on Monday nights. I actually DJ'd on that. And he was DJing and I'm like trying to like greet all my friends and say hi to everybody. And so Trish comes in, I see her and she's like, hi, oh my God, you look so amazing. Happy birthday. It's great to see you. And I kind of really didn't hang out with her that night at all. I just, I saw her here and there, but like really didn't have any like long conversations. And so the night ends, I go home. I messaged her the next day and I said, hey, thanks for coming to the party. It was really nice to see you again. She's like, oh, it's great to see you too. She also did message me that one of her daughters is a DJ. And she's like, hey, would you be interested in ever like showing my daughter like some DJ stuff? I'm like, anytime. And so, so this was in July. So by August, a buddy of mine, another one of our friends who came to the party too, who lived in New York, is like, hey, I'm turning 50. Will you DJ my 50th birthday party? And I said, absolutely. That would be great. And he goes, pretty much everyone that was at your party is going to be at my party. And I said, cool. He's like, and he's like, Trish. I'm like, oh, Trish is gonna be there. I'm like, oh, yeah, count me in, bro. I'm in.
Yeah.
And so Randy was gonna be there, and a bunch of our other friends and stuff were gonna be there. So I flew in. I wanted to maximize. I hadn't been to New York for a long time, and so I wanted to maximize my trip. So I said, get me a red eye. And so I left like at 9:00 from PDX. Got there at 6 a.m, stayed at my friend Tracy's house, woke up the next day, and got there like at 6 a.m, kind of took a slight nap. She's like, I gotta work. You can stay here. I said, no, I'm gonna run the city. So we took the train into Manhattan. She worked at Saks Fifth at the time. She looked at me. She said, all right, well, I'll see you later. I get off at 8:30. I said, all right, bye. So I was just roaming the streets in New York by myself, having a good old time. Walking around, flipping off Trump Tower. I was having a good old time.
Yes. I got those photos in every city, man. I love it. Yes, sir.
Took a photo too. And so
I got those photos.
And so
we should collections.
Exactly. And so I was talking to Eric. He was like, yo, man, he was like stressed out about the sound system and this and that. I'm like, dude, I got it covered. We'll rent it from Guitar Center. I work there. It'll be all good. I get a super good deal. Don't worry about it. And so he's like, Trish is here right now. I said, oh, that's right. I was like, all right, I got to go, dude. So I texted him. I was like, hey, what are you doing? She's like, I just got done running Central Park and I'm going to go to the Met. I'm like, oh, well,
what?
She goes, well, I want to go to the Met because ironically, I was actually dating someone from Portland that was like, you should go to the Met. And, she was an art teacher at Portland College, the college in downtown Portland, art school or whatever. And I was like, yeah. So I went there and Trisha's like, yeah, so find a place where we could like, I could get you a drink, I didn't get you a drink on your birthday. I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. She's like, just find a place. So I was like, all right, I don't know shit about New York. I've been here forever. So I was like, oh, there's a bar at the Met. I'm like, so I said, hey, there's a bar at the top of the Met. We can go there. She's like, oh, perfect. So I'll meet you there at 2. So I mingle around. I get there at 2. She gets out of the car looking amazing. And we just started like, and then they had that really cool rock and roll exhibit there where all the guitars and stuff from all the artists that was at that exhibit at the Met. Okay. So we went to the roof and we got a drink and some chips, and it was crowded that day. There was nowhere to sit. We're sitting on the floor. We're literally sitting on the cement. We take a photo before that, and we just start talking. And she knows I'm in the process of my divorce. And she's like, oh, I've been there, and don't worry, you're so loved, and I'll be, I'm a friend. You got friends. You're good to go. And I'm like, yeah, I appreciate it. And I'm hanging out with her all day, and I'm like, God, this is a really cool girl. She's freaking awesome, And so she was supposed to go out to dinner with her daughter that night. And she's like, well, I got to get dinner date with my daughter. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And I'm like, the Met was closing early that day because there was some event happening that night. And so I'm thinking 5 o'clock, I got into 3 hours away, so I can figure that out, like whatever, walk around, look at stores or whatever. So she goes to the bathroom. She comes back and she's like, hey, so my daughter just canceled on me because she's got too much homework. She's like, would you want to go to dinner with me? I'm like, yeah. So we go to the guy at the door and like, where's a good place to eat? And he's like, oh, there's an Italian restaurant around the corner. So we walk around the corner, and we always say this was like the best non-date date, right? Yeah. So didn't start off like a date, but it ended like it was a date. And so we get to the restaurant, and we're hanging out, and there's just chemistry started happening. And I can feel it. And it's funny, we'd always tell the story. So we're sitting there, and I put my hands on the table like this, and she grabbed my hand, and I pulled my hand back. And I was like, oh, wait, what's happening? Like, it was just like shock, right? And then we took this photo in front of this restaurant, and, and I was getting dumped by my ex-wife, so I'm not believing anyone's really liking me, right? Your self-esteem is low and shit. And so, but she's like, just seeming so nice to me. And I'm like, man, I would love to be with a woman like this. She's just amazing. And we take this photo, and we walk back, and we're walking back to the Met, and it's all lit up. It looks like a freaking rom-com movie. It's all lights and fountains and shit. And I'm like, damn, this is romantic right now, So we walk up, and like, this is like in a movie where you like, do you want to kiss you? But I give her a kiss on the cheek. I'm like, oh my God, I had the best day ever with you. And she's like, thanks. And we both get in our Ubers and leave. And then I'm sitting in the car, and I'm like, I sent her a text. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't want this to end. And she's like, I didn't either. And I was like, oh. So then we're hanging out with each other the whole weekend. So as the days go on and on, it just keeps like the next day we're hanging out. It's more even like kind of vibey. Then at the party, we're at the party and we're hanging out, and I'm DJing the party on Saturday, and she like, she's just being really nice, looking absolutely stunning that night. Like, just like, wow, like killing it. And I was like, damn, she's fine as hell. And so I'm like, okay, whatever, dude. You know, she's not into you. You're like, whatever. Like, so, I go dance with her and she's like dancing on me. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, hey, she goes, did you get my text message? And I'm like, no. She's like, you should go look at your phone. I'm like, oh, okay. So I walk back. So I had to go. I changed the song anyway. So I walk back, not knowing she's following me. I pick up my phone, don't see her behind me. And there's like these steps behind me because there was like there's like these steps. She goes and sits on the steps. So I pick up my phone. I look at the phone. It says, I like you. And then like, I was like, oh, and I text her back, I like you too. And then I hear, good response.
Your stalker.
It was great.
Oh,
and it's like, so
that
then,
it's full rom-com. This is totally right out of the Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks movie.
It's so good. And it was like, and then we hung out for the rest of the, then we hung out the next day, and then we went to the 9/11 museum. I'm blubbering, crying like a fool because it was just so emotional. And then we flew away. Like, she went back to California, San Diego, and I went back to Portland. But we were on the plane at the same time, and we're just texting back and forth. And like, literally, I have not stopped talking to her every day since then. And that was almost 5 years ago. And then we started dating.
What happened?
And then we started dating long distance, back and forth. I'd fly to Portland. I'd fly to San Diego. She'd fly to Portland. We're doing back and forth. And then it just started getting way too hard. And I was like, and I was also taking care of my mom because she's unfortunately had dementia and Alzheimer's. I had to bring her into my house with my ex-wife, and that was a nightmare. And so it was just a very tumultuous time for me back then. And Trish was just this like beacon of light and support that I've never really experienced ever. Like, I just never, still like, is like, just it's unparalleled to anyone I've ever been with. And so she's like, I think it's time. She goes, I'm not moving there. And I'm like, well, I'm moving. I'll come. I'm coming. Yeah. I want out of here anyway. So I moved here in 2021 and I've been here ever since.
Wow. It's already been that long.
And I'm happy as hell.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I remember when you split and everybody, like I said, there was one day Tony was gone, and I remember like that you had met Trish and that you guys had this romantic. I didn't know the details of the romantic connection. Yeah, but it was really cool that she wooed you away from Portland to a really beautiful thing.
She brought me home, man. She really brought me home, and like I belong here. This is where I'm from. And I've reconnected with a lot of my old friends. And it's just like, to be honest with you, when I lived in Portland, I was very isolated. I had my kids, but I didn't have friends, bro. I didn't have I've got my dear friend Jai, and I've got some other friends, but that are, the couple like acquaintances, but like friends. They're here, man. Like my childhood friends and people I've known since I was like 15 and, went to high school with and stuff like that. They're all here, man. And so like, I literally pulled myself. Listen, my kids, when we come back to California, they're like, why did we ever move? Why did we move? I'm like, because your mom wanted to move, dude. I didn't want to leave. Your mom wanted to be, which is, I get it. Her mom was up there, and like, you want to be around your mom. And we had young kids, and she was their grandmother was amazing with them, and it was a huge support system, and she didn't want to lose that. So I understand that, but it was the first couple of years there, man, I was depressed. I was I wasn't DJing. I wasn't, and when the thing is, in 2013, I started DJing in downtown Portland. And that's when I started getting back into what I was into. And that's when things with my ex-wife started to get really rougher than ever. Cause I was back into what I was wanting to do. And she really didn't want me doing that. She didn't want me in those environments. And so, that's where I'm most comfortable. That's what I do best. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, you can't tell, I can do all the other odd jobs and stuff like that, but they're not my passion. Like playing music is my passion, and entertaining people. And, that's what I love to do the most. And so, I'm where I'm supposed to be. And, and I'm doing really amazing things, and the future is looking bright. So I'm happy.
Yeah, man. So let's talk about that. Like, so let's talk about what's coming up next. I know that you mentioned you got another TikTok show coming up.
Yeah, I'm just right now. I mean, because the DJ game is so like saturated at this point, and it's a there's so many DJs, right? And so there's things you got to do to like make yourself my kids have been bugging me, get on TikTok, get on TikTok. My kids, like they were, and I'm like, nah. I'm actually making some money. I'm making a lot crazy money, but I'm making money on there, and
that's cool.
And I'm turning on a lot of people onto my music and and showing them like kind of what a real DJ is and like what a real curator of music and vibe is about. I'm showing people that, and my growth is really, I've really been focused on it in the last month, and I went from like 3,000 followers. I've gained like 10,000 followers in like less than 2 months.
That's killer, bro.
And so, man. and that just goes to prove that, like, one, I know what the hell I'm doing when it comes to playing music, and and so, like, again, like I said, I'm terrible with this technology stuff, because I'm, and I'm trying to learn it, and be active with it. And because like I want to do what you're doing. Like I want to do podcasts. So I'm very
it's fun, man.
That you allowed me to, because I know all these people that I could be interviewing because they're my friends, and they'd be like, if I had it, I'd be like, hey, I want to interview on this podcast. They'd be like, yeah. I just need to have the platform set up, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm working. Yeah, I'm working on that stuff right now, and this is a good starter thing. Doing this with you, and I'm just trying to build my TikTok and get more DJ gigs, and it's happening. The more and that's the thing. TikTok is, unfortunately, they're trying to ban it, but whatever. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But it is a vehicle to allow people to get to know. It's like, it's not the end all to be all, but it's a great promotional process, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. There's so many eyeballs on that app, and people scroll and they I can't tell you how many people I've seen. They're like, oh, you stopped my death scrolling. I found your page and I'm stuck here now. I've never been on anyone's TikTok this long. I've never listened to anyone this long on TikTok. Because
it's not supposed to be designed for that. No, really, it's designed to keep like 3 seconds and you're gone, right? So
no,
that's killer that you get that.
But I have people in there like, dude, I've been listening to you for 5 hours straight. I can't believe I did it for 5 hours straight, right? And I'm like, that's dope. That and so
hell yeah,
it's just my passion in music. So I just I want to make music. I want to just kind of just dive into all of that, like heavily. But right now I'm just trying to, I just really love to DJ. It's just like my favorite thing on the planet to do. I just love it so much, man. It just brings so much joy to me. And so, and I'm a career DJ. Is what I've done my whole life. Is what I know the most. Is what I know the best. And I'm not going to try and run away from it. And so I'm just trying to find the right avenues to get myself out there where people can see me and go, oh yeah, we want to hire this guy. And like, I'm playing digitally. I can play records just as good. I've got my record collection is extensive. And so, that's just the goal right now. It's just to get my name out there more. Cause like I said, I spent a better part of 15 some years not really pushing myself in the realm of being a DJ. Cause I just wasn't able to, especially the way I wanted to. And TikTok has allowed me to do that because, I've DJ'd on Facebook and Instagram live, and they pull your videos immediately. There's copyright, right? That doesn't happen on TikTok, right? TikTok allows the DJs to actually play the music. And so people can go, oh, this guy's dope. The only DJ on Instagram that can ever DJ on Instagram is D-Nice. D-Nice is D-Nice is the only DJ on Instagram that can play whatever he wants without his videos being pulled. And that's because he's in with them. And a lot of it has to do with his club quarantine from COVID, and they saw who was in his lot. He had Oprah, he had Ellen, he had
Wow.
um he had everyone, Halle
The inner
Berry. I
circle,
mean,
man.
he had all those
Wow.
celebrities in there along with all this so everybody's in there, and they're like seeing Halle Berry's comments, and they're seeing Michelle Obama's comments, and they're like, oh, we can't shut this guy down, so we'll let him do it, but anyone else, nah, you can't do it. So so Instagram, no, I figured out on, like, especially on Instagram, if I play house music or my records, I can clearly trick the algorithm, and they're not. But then I'm not.
Slow it down a little bit, speed it up.
Well, no, it's not even so much that. It's just like, if it can't be Shazammed, then it can't be detected, right?
Right.
So if I'm playing stuff that Shazam doesn't know exists, then their detective software is not going to detect what I'm playing, and I can play. But the problem with that is I'm not going to get the eyeballs of the people that, because people want to hear what they know. And that's just the reality. When they hear a DJ, even when I'm in my TikTok, I get requests. Can you play this? Can you play that? Can you play? That's just the nature of what DJs deal with, like the requests. Like, we have an idea what we want to play, and then people want to tell us what they want to hear, right?
Yeah.
And to Mike Bird.
Yeah, you got some fans there.
No, that's Mike Bird. He works at Guitar Center.
That is awesome. Yeah, so people that are listening and not watching, so
he's talking.
There's some folks in the chat.
He likes to yank my chain. That's my dude, though. I love him so much. That's my homie. But yeah, it's just so you can do it on Twitch. Twitch allows the DJs to do the same thing, but the eyeballs just aren't there. They're like
gamer.
They're just not there. So when you're on TikTok and people are scrolling, and they hit my page and they hear, whoa, I ain't heard that ever. What? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, I see people like, you're playing Depeche Mode. That got my attention. Oh, you have my attention now. I'm seeing all those comments in my chat, or I'm playing some like really underground hip hop, and they're like, yo, you know what I mean? So like the fact that I'm able to do that allows people to see me, and then they're like interested in what I'm doing. So I'm just trying to just curate this and figure out. And me and Trish we're creating nights like that Prince night, and we're gonna do a John Hughes night here coming up soon.
Killer.
Yeah, so we're gonna do thematic things with it, and which is no one else is doing that on TikTok. And so we're just trying to be a little bit different, and it's working, and so I'm running with it, and we'll see what comes of it. I'm getting DJ gigs from it, so
that's cool.
And that's the ultimate goal, right? So
who's the dream gig? I mean, if somebody was going to pick you up and say, I'm taking you out on the road, what's the dream gig for Tony Stewart?
Opening for Depeche Mode.
Oh yeah, dude. Hey, I thought of you, man. Valentine's Day, I went to the Sphere and caught the U2 residency, and it was Have you been to it?
No, we were gonna we thought about going in February, but my buddy who has cancer, him and his wife were we toyed with it. We're like, oh no, we should go, and then it was February, and then he got sick, and then we just didn't do it. And they're not there now; they're gone, right? So
yeah. The reason I brought it up is because leading up to it, they got a DJ that warms up the show, but he's in this car driving through the crowd. So there's one stationary spot where he starts spinning, and it's about a half hour before the show starts. And then he's got a crew of guys that push this car that's all lit up. It looks like this like crazy tricked out VW Bug.
Oh,
with
that's cool.
Turntables on top of it, and he's playing music and going through the crowd, man. Just like and by the time he gets from one end of the Sphere to the other, they turn the car around and his set's over. And U2 comes on. It's wicked, and I thought I could see, because he totally hyped up. It holds 22,000. The entire place is bumping, man, and it's all part of the visual show too. So it's
and
it's a wicked thing.
That's I go to concerts and I see other DJs opening, and I'm like, oh, I want to do that. And it's just a process of just being seen. And the way this game is now is like how many followers you have on your social media, because that's what that's the reality. Like, if I had 200,000 followers on my TikTok, they'd be like, okay, 1 million followers. I was just who we were just talking to the other day. I can't remember. We were having a conversation, and the first thing he said, he's like, "Yeah, well now they want to know how many followers you have on your social media." It's like that's the first question. Like, what's your platform look like? Because they know if they book you, that's instant eyeballs, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I got 1,000 followers. Like, yeah, nah, dude, we're good. We'll go with that. Whoever over here that's got 500,000 followers, right?
Yeah.
Because like you look at Coachella and I look at some of these people that are DJ and I've never heard of any of them. But if you look at their platforms, they've got followings, right? So it comes down to that. And so unfortunately, social media is a necessary beast. It just is, and especially in the industry that we're in, it is what it is. So, like I've never really focused hard. Like, I mean, I have the most followers on TikTok than any of my all three of my other platforms combined.
Oh yeah, that's great. Well, I mean, you're focusing your energy on it, and that is where you're going to be able to express your creativity the most. I think it's cool that a lot of people that didn't know you discovered you there, right?
Yeah, and it's just growing. So like, every time I go on, I get new followers, and and then when I post, like if I post any content on my page, I'm getting like, a lot of my videos are, they're not crazy, but I'm some of them got 9,000 views. It's it's just like it's just you get to a tipping point, right? It's going to be a point where you get to a tipping point, and then it's just like, like, oh, now you've got a bunch of followers out of nowhere. I mean, I think I posted something one time on there. I think it was we went to see Erykah Badu, right?
Oh,
and
wow.
We were here in San Diego, and there was a part I happened to be filming, and she stops. Someone's leaving out of the audience, and she's like, "Hey, motherfucker, where you going? I'm singing." And I recorded it. I posted it on my TikTok, and it got like 250,000 views, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
I gained a whole bunch of followers because of that. And then somebody else stole my video. Someone else stole my video and then used it, and they got even more videos on it and views on it. And then then they tried to, and then they put like an ink mark on it. I'm like, man, that's my video, right?
But
whatever. It is what it is. But it's like things like that. Those viral moments allow they and you never know how it's going to hit. You don't know how the public's going to respond to it, right? I thought that was funny, and other people did too. So,
of course.
But yeah, I'm just loving the fact that I can like be in my house, and Trish could be over here. She moderates my page, and
nice.
We're doing it together. She's listening to me. I'm playing, and and there's like, and the cool thing is there's like some people in my live, like they're like, oh my God, I was so depressed, and now I've been with you for the last 40 days and you've changed my mood. Like sending me messages like, oh my God, man. Like, I'm so glad I found you. I've felt alone. I've always said people are in this world right now are so lonely. There's a lot of loneliness going on in this world. And people want to feel part of a community or something. And so if my page can like bring people who don't have friends or going through something rough, and they can listen to some old music and make them feel young or better, then I'm here for it.
I love it, dude. You know what? I mean, honestly, the first time I met you, I kind of felt that energy. Even when you're working for the corporate machine that is Guitar Center, you do give off that kind of positivity, man. And I think it's a very generous thing. I've talked a lot about this. My favorite saying is this old Jim Carrey quote when he talked to Stanford students that are graduating in marketing, saying, the effect you have on others is the greatest form of currency there is.
No, I agree.
It's an important thing, totally. And that is who you are, man. It's who you've been since I've gotten to know you. And obviously you've affected a lot of other people that same way, man. So
I just really try to, I'm very talkative. I always have been. Here we are, almost 2 hours in, and we're still talking, right?
Yeah.
I'm very talkative, and I used to get used in citizenship at school. They'd be like, he talks too much. He's a social butterfly, and which is I am, right? Mike Bird will tell you, shut up, dude. You talk too much. He used to be at work, and I'll be talking real loud, and he's on the phone. He's like, dude, can you talk that way? Can you talk the opposite way? I'm on the phone right now, dude.
He said, who you remind me a lot of? Our mutual buddy, man, Nate Morton. Nate Morton, very much the same way, bro. You know, like
Yeah.
Nate like raves about you too, man. And I
Well,
was
we
so
toured
blown away
together.
that
We toured
that was
together.
it.
So
Yeah,
yeah, and he's a great
Nate,
guy. It was funny. We were
love him.
at this USC event, and this guy, I can't remember his name. He plays saxophone on The Voice and on American Idol. Amazing saxophone player. And I walked up to him at the end. I'm like, hey, we have a mutual friend. He's like, you know Nate Martin? He's like, oh, that's my dude. I'm like, that's my homie, man. I toured with him. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah.
Wait, no, that's my homie.
No, that's my homie. That's my homie. You know, and so I'm still trying to get him to get me tickets to The Voice. So I'm like, yo, I want to come to The Voice and see your thing, bruh.
Dude, yeah, man, just go do it.
No, I just got to message him. I keep forgetting, but I want to, you know, it was so fun watching him on tour, you know, because
I'll bet. Oh, he's
BT,
my favorite drummer to watch.
He picked me first, and then he called me. He's like, "Yo, doing this tour," and then he had to, you know, he had to then I won't say he picked me first. The first person he picked was Richard Fortus.
Oh,
so Richard Fortus,
Guns N' Roses.
Well, he was, you know, he was part of Love Spit Love. He was part of he played for he played with the Psychedelic Furs. Right. He also played with
that's how I knew him.
What else? He something Daisy something I can't remember the name of that other band. Play with I mean, he was like, they call him the hired gun. He was, you know, this guy, call him up, he'll come in the studio and he'll rock. And so he got Richard, he got me, and then he needed a drummer. So then he auditioned, he got Nate, and then we had another girl named Nikki Tedesco who was on bass, and another girl named Toddy Walters, who also did vocals. So that was the band. And so I felt very honored to be on that tour, especially like watching Richard Fortus and Nate. And I mean, it was just like insane. And like, you know, Richard's just insane guitar player. So this guy is like, it was funny when we were on tour, Robbie Stetson from The Replacements. Is that his name? Something Stetson. He was on the. I can't remember. I think it's Rob Stetson. He came to one of the shows, and I remember him. We're backstage, and he's like, "Yo, Axl Rose just asked me to be part of Guns N' Roses." He goes, "You got to play guitar with me." And Richard's like, "Yeah, I'm down." It was like that. Yeah, I'll do it.
I'm down. Yeah,
I'm down.
Like, another day.
Like, and
another
this
day
is
work.
and this is, you know, they had already broken up, and then So then Richard has been with him ever since. He's never not been with Axl since then, and that was 2001. So so he was with Axl when it was Guns N' Roses and just him and like Buckethead and whoever else he had playing.
Right.
And then when they decided, you know, Duff and Slash said, "Okay, let's get back together," then it was actually banned. I was like, "Oh, I got to go see this." So that's, you know, and so I've gone to like 3 of the shows.
Get to see your boy play with him, man. That's killer.
Yeah. Me and Trish went to the one here in San Diego not too long ago, and then I went to 2 of them, one at the Gorge and one in Seattle. And
cool.
It's just like, and he's just like consummate, insane, just guitar player. And then Nate, you know, he leaves the tour and does like, you know, plays for Madonna, and then he lands the Voice gig, and he's been there like for what, 20 years almost.
Yeah,
long time, dude. And so, but I just remember hearing him on tour, and he's just like, whatever. Like, we'd be like, "Yo, play this beat." Blah, blah, blah. He just drums it out. Do Sade. Or what? We'd be at sound check, and he would just be playing just random songs, just like I'm like, damn, bro, what can't you play, bro? Like, without even just off the top of his head, he's just playing any rhythm from any artist. I'm like, dude, you're an insane drummer.
He is, and my favorite drummer to watch too. Aside from the fact
he's
that he
so
can play
good,
all the chops, but he's the most fun to watch, man. You know,
he's such a good drummer. I got to hang out with him for 6 weeks, so it's like I had front row seats to that. You know,
he's the perfect person out on the road with you because he definitely has like the best attitude.
No, he was my bunkmate and he was my hotel roommate. Like he was like those. We were like everywhere we did. You know, I think my ex came. We were in. Oh, it was like we were somewhere, and he was like, "Yo," his wife came, or his ex-wife now, and he was like, I'm like, "Hey, I'm not having that room, bro. I got a different room. I'm gonna be somewhere else." He's like, "Oh, cool. That means," I go, "So you and your wife can have that room, and I'm somewhere else, dude. You're good." And he's like, "All right, man."
Yeah.
So He was just easy on the road. Like he was just so
totally.
easy
Isn't
to
that
like. His
nice?
demeanor is so nice. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's
Props to Nate.
I love I have that experience. I got to have that experience, and I'll never forget it. So
That's yeah, man. Well, next time I get him back on the show, we'll sing Tony
oh,
Stewart
I'm gonna
props
watch
too,
it.
man.
I'm gonna watch it,
Yeah,
man. Yeah,
for
yeah, for
sure.
sure.
Man, listen, guys, if you got here late, you go back through and listen to crazy stories, man. Tony Stewart, great experiences with Brian Austin Green and all these earlier days and meeting the Far Side and on Zap TV. I love to hear these stories.
I should have brought my
I
Zap
really
jacket down and showed it to you. It's like I still have it. It's
that'd be
funny.
fun.
I gave it to my mom. I was like, hey, always, I knew if I didn't want to lose something, I would give it to my mom. I'm like, here, hold on to this so I don't freaking lose it. And so when I was cleaning out her house, because she's now in a memory care facility, I was digging through it. I'm like, oh my God, here's my freaking Zap jacket from 1988.
That's awesome.
It says Pretty Tony right here. It's funny.
Pretty Tony. I love it, man. That's what I should have actually promoted this as, the Pretty Tony DJ show.
Well,
but
and it's funny because like all my old, like the kids, like, so when I play at Skyloft here in Laguna, I get a lot of like the people that used to dance at my clubs in Orange County to show up. And like, there's like a guy named Ron. He's like, oh, I see your name. I come and hear you. I had another friend, that was here named Melissa. She was in an R&B group called Good to Go. She was here last week, and she was just like, hey, she was like, dude, like, you were so dope. You've always been so dope. You always just kill it all the time since I can remember, and it's like, I love that. Like, these people see me, they've known me as a DJ since they were like kids,
Amazing,
and I'm still, and here I am still doing that shit.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, you are. Like, I do want to thank, Trish for sure, man, for being a good sport and helping, giving up her time with her man tonight. And thanks to a lot of you guys in the chat, man. It's been fun to watch your reflections of Tony. Guys, if you got here late, don't forget what I told you, man. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Go to youtube.com/@access7.
Yes, subscribe. This is a great
subscribe. It's a good hang, man. Like next week, starting like Monday, got great industry rap and wicked drummer Jimmy Dean. He's an artist rep for Ultimate Ears, and Roland works a lot with a lot of
nice.
And great drummer, but he's a great conduit for artists to be able to make that connection, between some of these companies to develop sort of partnerships. Also got Paula Cole coming up, which I'm really excited about, and the illustrious Dan Reed of the Dan Reed Network. Dan lives over in Prague. He's going to be on the show as well next week. So do make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure that you come and see DJ Tony at Skyloft in Laguna, right? And when are you there?
My next time I'm there, I'll be there May 25th.
Okay, right.
Well, Saturday.
If they go to your Instagram,
Saturday night.
So,
and then I'm also doing I'm doing an event in Encinitas at this club called Shelter. So house, they do house music, so I get to play house music all night there. So I'm doing that, and then going to Cruel World next weekend. So not this weekend, but the next weekend, gonna be there. So
that's gonna be a blast, man.
I can't wait. That's my favorite festival right now. I love that. It's so dope. But hey, when you're in San Diego, when you're in San Diego, man, you got to hit me up because I want to come see you play with the flock, bro. I got to see. I've never seen the flock, so I want to go. Hey, do you guys play You guys play Nightmares?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Oh,
I love that you know it. Yeah, yeah.
You guys play Nightmares?
Absolutely.
Dude, I play that. I play that song on my lives on TikTok. I play it. People are like, who is this? I'm like, it's Flock of Seagulls. They're like, well, I've never heard this. Dude. I'm like, it's one of their best songs, dude.
That's so good. You know the movie Mommy Dearest? Did you ever see it?
Yeah.
That was, he wrote that song after seeing that he was in a hotel room, playing.
Oh, is that song is that song about that movie?
About no more wire hangers is the catchphrase in that movie. Yeah, man. He got freaked out by that movie. So that's where
that movie is gnarly, dude.
Yeah.
That's a gnarly movie. Yeah.
I love that you know that song, man.
Oh, I love that. It's one of my favorite Flock of Seagulls songs, bro. Hands down.
It's a fun one to play, man. Super
it's just
intense.
it's very like dark and ominous, and it makes sense because he wrote it after watching Mommy Dearest.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell that story now that I know. I'm like, hey, want to know a fun fact?
There you
I
go,
play next
man.
time.
Well, when we get down there for sure, man, you will be my guest. You and Trish come out to a show, and it'd be fun to have you kick it. And,
Absolutely, man. I'd love to come. It'd be awesome. Well,
I
thanks
really
for having
appreciate
me,
both
man.
you guys. Dude, grateful to have you here. Nice to meet your boy Elijah. I'm glad he was here, and that you've got a
Yes.
an adoring fan of Mike Bird back here in PDX that thinks you're adorable. So,
Hey,
thanks to everybody.
Well, Mike Bird is one of the reasons he works at Guitar Center. He's worked there for like, I don't know, as long as Guitar Center's been on the planet. He's been there like 25 years or some shit like that. So he's a GC Pro guy. So if you ever need any GC Pro, call Mike Bird.
There you
That's
go.
Your dude.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Your dude.
DJ Tony Stewart, dude, you're the best promoter ever, man. Even after the corporate machine chewed you up, spit you out.
Hey, you know what? He's a good dude, and I send him deals all the time, even when I don't work there. I'm like, hey man, I got a friend, because people know I used to work there, so they'd be like, yo, and I'm like, hey, listen, here's the deal. I don't work there anymore, but I got a guy that can take care of you. Call him up, he'll take care of you. And so
that's good. That's good.
I take care of my people, man. That's how I roll.
Yeah, buddy. I love that about you. Well, thanks, Mike Bird. Thanks, Trish. Thanks, DJ Tony Stewart, man. You guys, I'll be back here again Monday, and
I'll check out your show.
weekend, man. All right, brother.
Thanks for
so
having
much.
me.